Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, here we are after market close on Tuesday, October 10th. We're going to take an updated look at AVTX today. So we've had these levels on the chart for many weeks at this point. AVTX continuing to work through the zones that we already have on the chart and doing a really good job respecting the levels that we've had. So let's just quickly go over that. Here we see yesterday battled with this 1323 level, came up shy of that 1396, basically 14, came down to reconfirm support off of that 1323, and then it made a nice run into close through that level up to 1460, and then sort of came down and reconfirmed through all of after hours and all of pre-market today, just over this 14 level, and then a nice big run came within a fraction of a penny of that 1531 that we've had on the chart again 4 weeks. This is why these levels matter. Came down, tested again that 14 level. So that 14 level getting a lot of action in the last few days. Coming up, hitting its head on 1460, and then sort of pushing off of that into close today, and then eventually kind of getting timed out. Now, if we go ahead and look at the EMAs as they played out today, we see a nice big push here into open, and then when it flipped, that's when we got the sell-off and the reconfirm of support down here at 14, and then kind of wound up the EMAs, bundled them up again into close. So for the time being, this 14 is really the critical element between yesterday and today. And my only concern, if I'm an AVTX bull, is how many times AVTX can go to the well. And what I mean by that, if you haven't heard it before here, is how many times will bulls or will buyers continue to show up at that level before it tries to push down and it maybe loses it because the buyers just don't show up all of a sudden. I don't know if that'll happen, but that starts to become my concern when there's a lot of action at a particular level, and it requires that buyers continue to show up over and over again. Now, if we look at where the volume is, here you see that floor, right, where there's a bunch of volume that gets picked up here as it approaches the 14 level. And so my question would, like I said, continue to be, does that continue to take place? The good news is there's also a lot of volume happening right around this 14, what do we have on the chart here? I forgot that I hid the levels. We have 1460, I think. Yeah, 1460. There's a bunch of action right around there as well. And so, you know, if that continues to pick up and this can rise a little bit, then maybe that support level that right now rests around 14 and where it has to continue to go back and test can at least become the 1460, if not the 1531. I'm also interested to see if this continues to play out whereby 15, which is right here, and hasn't really played a big factor thus far, even though you would think that that's the psychological level, right? Not this like random 1460 and this random 1531. I'd be interested to see over the next few days or even week or so, if the price continues to move through this area, if that 15-cent level begins to take shape and provide some importance. I don't know, but it's something that's, that could be interesting. Now, here's the key. This is the key components to this whole move, is this upward support. This support trend line is what we've had on the chart for a few videos now, and this is the key component. If it loses this uptrend support, then I would be concerned. If it doesn't at least regain it sort of immediately, that can certainly happen. But so far it's doing a really nice job. And it's an interesting move because it's such a volatile stock where it's having these days of, you know, this whole candle here is just minus 7%, but you see how many levels it moved through during the day. So it's not always just the outcome of plus or minus a huge percent. Sometimes it's just moving through a huge range throughout the day. But, you know, this day up 12 and then down 16 and then down 14 and just these wild days, plus 18, plus another 18. And so with such volatility like that, to sort of be stair-stepping up the way that it's doing at the moment, that's a really interesting motion. And I'm pretty keen to see if it can continue to do that. Now, if we hide these and we look here on the daily and see where our EMAs are situated, you still have, because this has been such an insane ride, and there's this huge gap up here that we have on the chart as well, right? This gap from here to here. Because of that, on the daily, you still have this 34 EMA. Typically you look at this at a glance and go, oh, that must be the 180 or the 200 EMA or something like that. No, that's just the 34. That's indicative of how crazy of a roller coaster ride the stock has been on lately. And interestingly enough, even with all the volatility, it's sort of smoothing out here in the sense of it can be plus 18, then minus 18. So in that way, it still is sort of a flat range that is working itself into. It's just there's a wild percentage change within the range that it's moving. But you can see here the 8 and the 21 EMA just kind of laying on top of each other, not making a distinct move at the moment. So I'd be really interested to see when we flip over to the Think or Swim study here in a moment where things are situated with the TTM squeeze indicator and if it's sitting right at the mid-range of the channel, which I suspect it may be. So that's the EMA situation. These are the levels, and that's basically the situation as I see it on Webull. Again, uptrend support being the most critical component of all of this. Now, if you hold tight with me for about 10 seconds, I will flip over to the Think or Swim study, so hold tight. Hey folks, just so you know, you can get these videos early and ad-free. If you click on the description below and become a member, you can make that happen, and I really appreciate the support. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the rest of the video. Now here is the Think or Swim study, and we're going to start back here at the 10-minute chart again, just to see how the day played out. You see it left the channel here to the upside just after market open today, and what do we always look for when that happens is we look for it to pull back and retest the mid-range of the channel. When it did that, that's the bright blue line here, when it did that, it lost support and then reconfirmed resistance there. And then it sold off, but it didn't need to go through a major sell-off. Small sell-off, meaning it didn't even come down and test the lower bound of the channel, just as low to mid bound of the channel, and then it pushed back through and just kind of wrestled with the mid-range of the channel into close. If it hadn't gotten timed out by the bell, could have been interesting to see, was it going to slip support there and confirm resistance, or was it going to charge back and make another run? Because also you see heading in to open, it was the beautiful setup with the TTM squeeze indicator, because back here you see in the after hours yesterday, TTM squeeze indicator starts triggering, long trigger, while the price is sitting right at the mid-range of the channel. That's always what you want to see. It doesn't make it 100%, but it increases the viability and the veracity of the TTM squeeze indicator. And again, into open, sitting right here while the TTM squeeze indicator is triggering. Then it fires, and that fire took the price from about low 14s up there to it tried to go to 15.5, and then the bulls just sort of drew down, flipped over to bearish momentum, and then killed it back to the baseline on the histogram into close. So good motion there on the TTM squeeze indicator, good call outs if you were able to catch it. Now on the 1 hour chart, we see, because the price action is so wild, this channel is really wide. And so even with the big motion today and even a few days ago, it's just stretching to test the upper bound of the channel. It's not even leaving the channel really, and then coming down and retesting the mid-range. So even today, throughout the day, just retesting that mid-range, the channel, and just kind of sitting there. Now if we zoom out again to the daily, let me just fix this here so it's a little bit easier to see. Let's see. Okay, so stuck right now in a neutral trend. So it's trying to kill this. It's trying to kill this downtrend. Sorry, this thing's being a pain in the butt. Okay, And if we can, if we can get this situated, just bear with me for a moment. Okay, this is better. So you see this steep downtrend that was under, again, this is on the daily. So you see this big push down, right? There's the big gap. Finally gets into the channel again. The channel is all wonky at this point. Pushes the upper bound on that big push, peels back down to the mid-range of the channel, and it still is just kind of wrestling with that. So that's sort of indicative of what we spoke about on the Weeble chart, where it is moving these huge ranges, but it's moving them in both directions. And so it does end up in this weird sort of horizontal, coiling, basing pattern, but it's just within that pattern, there's a wild range. You know, there's 15, 18, 20 something percents of change that can happen on any given day. Also of interest, it's accumulating here at the mid-range of the channel. And you see here, we've now put in 4 daily candles of triggering on the TTM squeeze indicator. Is the TTM squeeze indicator 100%? Of course not. Does it misfire sometimes, meaning it gives you a signal and then a fire? Yes, and nothing happens. That can definitely happen. But it is interesting that it's sitting at the mid-range and it's triggering for 4 days now. I think I saw also something similar on the 1 hour here. If we take a look, yeah, so a couple of hiccup candles. This is what I mean. This is not a crystal ball, right? Nothing is. If someone's trying to tell you that they have the crystal ball and they know where the price is going, I would be really suspicious. Mid-range, right, for several hours while the TTM squeeze indicator is triggering. So when that fires and the fire actually takes motion, right, like we saw here, like an actual full motion, not just these little hiccup candles, is there some juice to be squeezed there, would be my question. And interesting that it's taking that shape on the hour as well as on the daily at the moment. Of particular interest is that it is it's happening while it's accumulating at the mid-range of the channel. All right, folks, I hope that you are off to a good start this week. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.